Okay, I tried recording this a couple times and it failed. So we're just gonna walk you through the process of completing the timeline that we started last Monday. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're going to add a title to the timeline. And the title of our timeline is Timeline, when were they here in Texas? Because this timeline is showing us the different groups of people that lived in Texas and when they lived here. Okay? And then I labeled this very far spot to the right now. If you would also like to write, like the year 2020, like below or above, that is perfectly fine, just so you know that this indicates right now. Now, we added another mark, and it was 1/2 inch to the left from now. So I centered the halfway point and put a mark right there, because that was 1/2 inch, right? And from our legend, we know that 1 inch is 1,000 years. So I labeled this one 500 years ago. I also labeled the rest of my marks, since this mark was 1.5 inches from now, it was 1,500 years ago, because 1,000 plus 1/2 of 1,000, which is 500, is 1,500. This mark was 8.5 inches from now, so that means it was 8,500 years ago. Excuse me. And then this mark was 14 inches from now. So we labeled this one 14,000 years ago. And we had already labeled this section Paleo-Americans, because this is when the Paleo-Americans were residing in Texas. They lived in those cave shelters, they hunted mammoths, and were a little bit more primitive. We know a little bit less about them because it was so long ago. And then we learned about the archaic Indians, who also lived in cave shelters in the lower Pecos region, and we studied some of the mummified bodies that were found and some of the artifacts that the archaeologists were excavating from those locations, and how the archaeologists had to keep them secret so that people wouldn't come and steal artifacts from this time period, because then that's like losing a puzzle piece to the puzzle that they're trying to figure out. And then this area here, this is a new section. Labeled it LP because there's not a whole lot of space here, right? This is only 1,000 years between 1,500 years ago and 500 years ago. So we labeled this one LP. LP stands for late prehistoric. And those are all the people that we were learning about last week, like the Caddo Indians, the Caracalla, their eating habits and rituals and routines. And so we were learning about those people, where they lived last week. So we added that to our timeline. If you needed to pause the video or back it up at any spot so that you can finish your timeline, please do so.